All right. Welcome to Coffee Cot, July 7th, 2025. And yeah, we're running late. I guess for all those people that wonder, do I really do this show on the fly on Monday mornings? The answer is yes, I do. And people keep sending me emails about a podcast production company and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, nah. I kind of like just running by the seat of my pants. Mm, I think if you can't talk about a subject without having to have a bunch of prep, then you really don't know the subjects at all. But anyway, I'm back from vacation, went out of the country, got in very late Saturday night, slept most all of yesterday, and then slept in a little bit today. So that's why it's roughly 9:30 this morning when I'm recording this and then getting ready to post it. I thought about getting up early, and then I changed my mind very quickly. That is, if you can't set your own schedule, then what's the point of owning your own business, right? I mean, I think for those of us that got in to the world of entrepreneurship and not working for somebody else. We did it for freedom. And so I am on a couple of days after our nation's celebratory birthday. I am exercising my freedoms of being late today with Collision Coffee Talk. Not a ton to talk about, mostly because I really wasn't on my email or paying too much attention last week while I was gone. I was in a country where you're not supposed to drink the water, and I did my part by drinking a lot of beer, right? Like, so you can't drink the water, and I will just, I'm going to follow the rules in those cases, right? So we had a really, really good time, and I'm going to need probably a week to recover from that really, really good time. Haven't done that. I hadn't taken a vacation in like 8 years. I had to look back through my catalog. Basically, I had to look back on Facebook and go, when's the last time I took the kids somewhere on a vacation, right? Been a long, long time for football and for whatever other reasons. So let's just get right into it today, because now instead of listening in your morning, you may be listening this evening or during your lunch break. All right, we're going to talk about AI for rebuttal. Big trend I see a lot lately where shop owners are trying to use artificial intelligence, and even adjusters are trying to use artificial intelligence to explain crap they clearly don't know what they're talking about. So we're going to talk about what that is, the ramifications of artificial intelligence, and kind of some bigger picture items. Driven Brands put out an email. I did send it to Driven Brands and ask for a response. They didn't respond. It's kind of like last week. I don't blame them. I probably wouldn't respond either. But who they are tasking safety requirements to in their organizations, and that's going to be Mako, CarStars, and Fix Autos, is very disturbing. I mean, we'll just call it what it is. Auto owners releases some total loss fees, so I thought that was really interesting and good. I had that sent to me, so we'll talk about what auto owners is doing with total losses. We're gonna talk about how consultants in this industry need to stop telling insurance companies what they think they should do. Right? Like, if you've never worked claims, probably shouldn't tell an insurance company how to work claims, just like an insurance company that's never managed a body shop should be telling a body shop how to manage it. I think it's really interesting how, I don't want to say weak, but probably weak is the right terms, how a lot of people in this industry want it both ways. Like, they just want it their way all the time. They want to tell the insurance companies what to do, but not the insurance companies not to tell them what to do. They want to tell customers who they should or shouldn't get their insurance with, and then get mad when an insurance company tells the customer who they think shouldn't repair their car. It doesn't go both ways, or it does go both ways. So if you're going to dish that out, you need to be prepared to take it back and figure out how to handle it. But we'll talk about that. Toyota has just stepped into a legal nightmare. I am constantly amazed at the, I don't want to say ignorance, but maybe a little bit of ignorance about how some of these OEs think that their OE programs are fortresses that they cannot be held accountable for. So we'll go over that. And then we'll talk about what the Washington Insurance Commissioner is doing with artificial intelligence as well. So kind of like the full package of this whole process. All right, let's dig right in. Can you or should you use artificial intelligence for responses to insurance companies, consumers, filings, whatever? And this is an interesting case that centers around a Subaru eyesight, which it got sent to me by the ADAS company. And I thought, well, let's just talk about the bigger picture based on some other things that had happened over the last week or so. So the bigger picture here, can you use AI for response? Sure. Should you? No. God, no. We had a recent ruling around an insurance claim where artificial intelligence written reports, so if you've used AI to write a report, are non-admissible in court. So in other words, that can't go in, you can't have it if you have an expert. So if you've hired one of these yahoos who was a body shop estimator for several years, and then now they think they're an IA genius and they want to handle ACV claims, RTAs, whatever, and they are using artificial intelligence to write their reports because probably their writing skills are very low, and they want to seem very important. Those are non-admissible in court. So you may get all the way down the road and you may have a very smart attorney that reads that and goes, no way in hell this guy wrote that. Which, I mean, I get these things all the time. I'll have people send me stuff and does the consumer wrote this email? And I no way in hell the consumer wrote that email at all. And I'll call the shop back and they go, well, we called the customer and they used AI to help them write it or whatever. And I go, okay, well, it's just blaringly clear that a human did not write this in any way, form, or fashion. I've seen attorneys using AI lately. I mean, so it's not like just one segment of the circle or of this, human experience is leaning on it more heavily than others, but it is causing some things. So in this case, you had a car come in for repair. It had been repaired previously, I want to say a year or two before, and the shop was going through calibrations, and they could not get this eyesight. They could not get it to calibrate. And it kept throwing the code, the 1403 code. And so their response to the insurer was, needs a windshield. Like, obviously, it's the windshield. It needs a new windshield. Previously, the shop had put in what is alleged to be an aftermarket piece of glass. And now they're like, we got to have a windshield. So the shop copied and pasted this and sent it to the insurance company. And the insurance adjuster went, bullshit. Right. So kudos to the insurance adjuster for being a little bit educated enough to know that there are flaws in artificial intelligence prompts. When you run prompts on programs, there are faults. You don't always get back, I guess, what would be the correct answer sometimes. I struggle with this with my kid when he's working on a paper or doing something. His first inclination is to pull up that phone and go, hey, Siri, tell me about whatever. And because information available on the internet isn't fact-checked or policed, being published as an author or as an expert before the internet meant somebody vetted your content. Like, you just couldn't go out there and write anything you wanted to write, right? If you did that and you self-published it, we typically called them manifestos, right? More than we called them literary or scientific works. But there was a process. Now anybody can put a blog out or write an article or do whatever. And a lot of the information you get back is wrong. And having the ability to sort through that takes a higher level of intelligence or critical thinking. And so in this case, they sent it over. They had the artificial intelligence. They didn't hide it, right? Like, if you look at what they sent, it says AI overview, right? So they just asked AI for a response and sent it over. Now, I've had shops have AI write emails about something back to an insurer. Sometimes that email includes like quoting law, which then puts you in the realm of practicing law without a license. I've had it sound really kind of crappy, like sometimes aggressive. There's a shop in Ohio that's really good with artificial intelligence, and he knows how to like change tones to friendly or whatever, and then he personalizes it a little bit. But just copying and pasting and sending that over. So the insurer sent this one out for another opinion. So it then ended up out of the body shop and into an ADAS company, who then went through sort of a critical thinking process of, here's what was wrong with the car, here's what was done with the car, here's what we're trying to do with the car, here's what the code is, and went through sort of a process of critical thinking of, let's solve the problem before we jump to it needs a part thrown at it. And of course, they were able, then the vehicle calibrated and delivered. Now that shop is somewhat black-eyed, so to speak. Like, you went out on that limb because it was, in truthfulness, it was something you just didn't know, right? Which is why I'm people ask me all the time, why do you not want body shops doing calibrations and whatever? And I'm like, because it's a very technical field and it requires a very specific skill set with a specific set of experiences so that you can troubleshoot these things. It's not just a matter of looking at the tool and going, the tool says this, so therefore I do this, or the tool, if we go back to that Honda rear view mirror or side view mirror, had the technician not been trained, they probably would have went, okay, it technically calibrated, it just was in the wrong zone and would have increased danger and all these kind of things. So this is a great example of a shop that clearly just didn't know. So they went to artificial intelligence, which in their mind, well, it's going to give me the right answer, or it's going to tell me what to do. And that becomes a huge, huge problem in a lot of different ways. So I always tell when I'm talking to shops, they'll ask me about various products that have come into this industry space, whether it's OE repair procedures, estimating, or whatever around artificial intelligence. And there are some problems. So we're at the beginning stages of people or colleges or institutions starting to research the effects of artificial intelligence on society. Harvard has started it. Stanford has started. Columbia, I believe, also has a study going on artificial intelligence. And the initial results, so we're talking things that started around 2022, 2023. The initial results are not good at how artificial intelligence impacts our brains. Now, if we study psychology, we know that the human loves easy, right? We want the easy button. We want the easy way out. We want the easy answer. That's just a default, right? And I think that's understandable. And so if we look to artificial intelligence as our get out of jail free card, whether that's searching for OE repair procedures, whether it's troubleshooting, whether it's responding to an insurer or a customer or whatever, there are tons of problems. So what we've found so far in the study is that it is leading to what's called cognitive atrophy. Wow. Let me take a little bit more caffeine. Look, I said I do this on the fly, and so everyone ought to appreciate it. All right. What that is it is sort of like the elasticity. If we think of your brain as elastic, its ability to expand and take in new information and teach itself and learn and make connections between different pieces of information and bring that together. AI kills that, right? So when you start relying on artificial intelligence for tasks like information retrieval or writing or problem solving, we know it immediately leads to a decline in your cognitive abilities. In other words, you start trusting in that your brain stops working. It doesn't see the need to work anymore. It doesn't see the need to think. So much of what is going on in our industry right now is because no one thinks. No one uses those critical thinking skills. No one looks at a problem objectively and says, let's find a solution. They just kind of go to this default piece of information and says, well, this says this, so that's all I'm either going to do or can do or should do or whatever. And that leads to huge, huge problems. As mentioned, there is an extreme reduction in critical thinking. So in other words, we start looking for someone to give us the answer instead of us finding the answer. Now, the scary part about this is, what will this do to our ability to continue to, I don't want to say evolve, but continue to develop technology, right? If we create a society in which it looks to technology for the answers instead of it creates technology for providing answers, what does the long run become? Do we stop being innovative, and do we sort of pause? So I was talking to one neurologist about this, and they were like, hey, just imagine Cuba, Kristen, because she knows I love Cuba and I want to go there, but now after that $250,000 fine thing that Trump announced, I will not be going to Cuba. But I just fascinated with the culture and the country and the cars, sort of that stuck in the 50s sort of thing. And I wanted to go there, right? And so she's like, that's sort of what we may become mentally, is we may get stuck in a particular error or at a particular level of knowledge and no longer have that creative instinct, those entrepreneurial instincts, whatever, to create and develop something new. So AI can play a bad role in that. And then overconfidence and misinformation. So as I look across artificial intelligence, whether it's estimating, whether it's providing OE repair information, we consistently find errors. Now it's getting better. Like I find the AI estimating is still terrible. People always go, but don't you do AI estimating? And I go, well, we call it automotive intelligence instead of automated intelligence. So we actually have human beings that are working those estimates and applying critical thinking cognitive reasoning to some things that are delivered by looking at the pictures, and then they'll add to a lot of things. So our AI is automotive intelligence. It's kind of a little crafty there. It likes to make the real AI companies, the Tractables, the CCCs, and all of them nervous. Like, how are you writing these $23,000 estimates? Because we know AI gives an overconfidence in misinformation. So that comes from insurers, it comes from body shops. You either use a tool and you go, well, this is what the tool told me. Now, whether that tool is a rules engine for ADAS, whether it's providing you with your OE research, whether it's writing your estimate and you're an insurer and you go, but this is what the AI says I owe. Because it presents itself in a confident and fluent way, and the text is very, I always tell people, if you haven't ever taken a debate class, go sign up for one. Like maybe you can just sign up for one online, watch some debate classes online. There's Harvard has a ton of free stuff available for you. Or go watch a debate at the high school level. So FBLA and those places still do debate. You had to take a pro and a con of an argument. And it didn't matter what you really believed. To be effective in debate, you had to be able to see and argue effectively both sides, right? So a lot of times you can present false information, and if you just always say, if you talk confidently, pause at the right moments of time, and use your hands effectively, anyone will believe anything you have to say, right? Because you're like, well, they said it with such emphasis and such meaning and such passion that they clearly that must be the correct information. And that's sort of what we're getting back from artificial intelligence, right? It's served up to you. Why should you question it? In our industry, do you have the time to question it? So if we look at something that's serving you up OE repair information and you've got 90 other things on your plate and 3 customers in the lobby and 2 people on hold or whatever, do you even have the time to question whether, one, the information you were served is accurate and complete, or whether it is insufficient and more research needs to be done? And so that overconfidence can lead to, one, just flat out false information. I get this a lot when I have insurers responding. So a lot of adjusters are relying on artificial intelligence, right? As a human being, we don't like to feel inferior, right? We don't want to feel like we're at the negative position in an argument or whatever. So we try to find ways to either, for the way the human brain works, we don't seek information to see if we're wrong. We seek information to validate our position. That's how it is. That's why you have to use emotional negotiation versus factual negotiation with an insurer. But I see them relying on AI a lot. A lot of what is responded back to a consumer, a lot of what is responded back to me is in that AI. Now, for an insurer's perspective, that's scary as hell. So if I'm in claims and I'm thinking about defending claims, class action lawsuits, whatever, and I know that I have these adjusters just entering AI prompts, copying and pasting and emailing that crap off to consumers, body shops or whatever, that's a huge problem. But this adjuster is trying to do a job. They believe that their employer would not steer them wrong. So if their employer says, we don't owe for this, instead of cognitive reasoning and critical thinking, they just go straight to, I need to find a way to prove that what I was told or what I was trained to do or whatever is the right way. And so AI is going to make things worse. A lot of what I think shops tell me right now that they're frustrated with when they're either negotiating or trying to talk to an insurer at all is that you feel like you're talking to a wall. And you're talking to artificial intelligence. Even when you get a human on the phone, their default is to just present what the AI has told them. I tell most shops, there's not a human that's reviewed your estimate and has sent back all these change requests if you're on a DRP, or has sent back, these negative supplements or whatever. That's all coming from software. The people in claims intelligence is not the right word. They're not trained to do those things. So they can't do those things. Even if they wanted to, they're not trained to do those things. That's a part of the other reason why I think people that have never been in claims should shut up and stop talking about claims. But they're not trained to do that. And so software companies, CCC being one of the major ones, have invented all these rule sets and tools that's supposed to make it easy for the or for the estimator and the adjuster to do their job and do it accurately. But of course, we find so many deficiencies in it. And the scariest thing about this to me is that we're actually making adjusters and estimators dumber. We're not making them smarter, because as they start to rely on that information, they stop thinking. And so I get questions all the time. Can I charge for this? Or how do I get paid for that? Or whatever. And it's like, it's just basic critical thinking, but we're not teaching that in this industry because everybody wanted an easy button. Everybody bitched and complained about research and whatever. And so we asked companies to give us a tool that was going to just give us the answers. And then now we're sort of suffering for that. I always say, if the tool provides the answer at any moment, the tool could be manipulated against you more than it could be manipulated for you. Stop relying on AI. I will be excited to see more of these studies come out as we think more about what are the long-term consequences on human intelligence as a result of artificial intelligence. And then what will that sort of do to our society as we move forward. But that's just the inner geek in me. Okay, well, now how does that wrap back up? Okay, now if we look at all of that from that science perspective, if we think about our own interactions, negative events, whether it's been, arguing in insurance companies, what we would call a lowball estimate, or having an adjuster copy and paste and send us stuff back that you're like, you didn't write this or whatever. So what does that look like? Well, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, the state of New York had a company that did artificial intelligence start looking at education. So teachers, high school, elementary through high school teachers. And that AI basically said there was a lot of teachers that should have been fired, and it made a wrong decision, and there was a lawsuit around it, and there was just a lot of bad things that came of that. The lawsuit settled in a way I never dreamed, right? It sort of settled, it sort of settled on the AI as being a validated tool. I didn't see that one coming. And what that did is it made insurance companies go to AI a little bit more than they had before. And so not just necessarily on our bodily or on our physical damage side, but if we look across bodily injury, if we look across just insurance claims for medical, in totality, not just the ones that are involved in an auto injury or whatever, artificial intelligence picks up the most work that an insurance commissioner's office does is not on auto claims. It's on health claims. So health insurance is the biggest thing that a Department of Insurance deals with. So the Washington Insurance Commissioner, which she's been super active, and she's been involved in trying to get more power to fine insurance companies. She's been actively involved, I think, across the country right now. I find her to be one of the most intriguing insurance commissioners that we have. But she is looking to try to get some regulatory oversight of AI. Like, how do we protect the consumer from artificial intelligence? And if there is a discrepancy, what is going to be that process of how a consumer disagrees with artificial intelligence? What will that look like? So she's looking at creating this advisory board, getting a board in place, getting people seated on that board, and kudos, because that's going to become more and more important as we go further. As shops rely on AI more, I mean, we already know the quality of estimating in our industry is just declining rapidly. It's worse now than it's ever been, and we have more information at our fingertips than we've ever had. So it's like, how does this happen? Well, there's the over-reliance on information and over-reliance upon what other people do. So you just sort of want to start matching what other people, and that just lowers the bar, it doesn't raise the bar. So as this AI starts to like really take hold, having some sort of governance or some sort of body within each state that can sort of review it and go, no, that's not right, is going to be critical. So kudos to Washington. The state of Washington, not Washington, D.C., but the state of Washington and the insurance committee or the insurance commissioner for thinking this far ahead, seeing what the studies are showing, seeing and hearing some of the complaints that consumers are having in the healthcare side of this, and saying, okay, we got to think about this to make sure consumers aren't taken advantage of. Now, for collision repair, you guys have to work real hard to make sure you're not taken advantage of, whether that's your reliance on artificial intelligence, if that's a software company that tells you, no, use this to jumpstart your estimate or whatever. Are you properly training the AI, or are you negatively training the AI? So if you're writing DRP style estimates and using artificial intelligence to jumpstart those, then you're reinforcing to the AI a substandard and incorrect estimate. And then the rest of the industry is going to pay bad data in, gives me bad data out. And so how do we prevent that from happening? What are the counters going to be? Derek has made it really clear that with the automotive intelligence and the Crytek product for SmartRight, the plan will be to train AI independently of shop influence across the United States. So if I had to like put all the shops in a pool, and if we thought about it like a bell curve or whatever, I'm going to have all of these low performing, low hanging fruit shops on DRP programs. And we don't want them training the AI at all. Like nothing they're writing is even remotely legitimate in this conversation or should be included in this conversation. So can we isolate the training of automotive intelligence to have a product out there that isn't influenced by poor performers? And so that's one of the tasks that Derek has with SmartRight, and the trained estimators that are behind it, so that automotive intelligence is really trained human beings making decisions around what needs to go on an estimate and what sometimes doesn't need to go on an estimate, right? And as that scales up, I'm sure we're going to go through some growing pains with that as well. There's not a lot of really good trained estimators available in the industry, and so getting those people out there. All right, so let's talk about driven brands, right? So this email came across my desk, was shared with me by a franchise within the Driven Brands program, and their frustrations with being on the program. I asked for a response. I didn't get it. I don't blame them. I wouldn't respond to me either in this way. There's no good that comes out of this for either them or for State Farm on this one. So, but I do ask. I don't want people to say you're not asking for our opinion. All right. So basically, this is about State Farm. And if you are on the State Farm DRP program. Now, I don't even know how to continue to sugarcoat this any way whatsoever. I do not see a way forward for body shops to survive on DRP programs because the insurer is continually taking things away from profit. Oh, that's included now. This is included. That's included. Can't charge for this. Can't do that. Whatever. How are you going to maintain overhead, right? Technicians aren't asking for less money. So when an insurer comes back and says, oh, hey, we've resurveyed and we've decided that this market is now $6 an hour less. It was $72 3 months ago, and we're going to drop that to like 65 or whatever that is. Now you have less in hourly compensation. Most of you are on flat rate or some sort of commission model. So you've either promised that technician 25, 26, 27 to $29 an hour of flag time. And now you're making $7. So you were already making less, and then now you're making $7 an hour less. I don't see the technicians coming back in and going, hey, since they did that, I'll take $7 an hour less on my flag time, right? That's not happening. And our estimators now even want $150,000 plus a year to be estimators. So as that overhead, operational expenses, all of that continues to rise, and the insurers continue to take more stuff away from the DRPs, I don't know how you survive and stay on it. At that point, I believe that inspires a shop to try to find a way to cut a corner or do something, to try to make up a difference here or there. And then that always ends poorly. But I found this one to be interesting. So State Farm has decided that seatbelt inspections are part of the estimator's assessment of damage. State Farm, look, I just need you to just know that's the dumbest thing you've ever seen. I got up here, I got general claims memos from 1996 up here. There's some dumb shit we did during my career. This one's really dumb that you put in writing that you believe seatbelt inspections, a safety, top priority safety thing that has to be done to a car, should be done by the least trained people or least technical people inside the collision repair facility as part of their assessment of damage. What the hell? I mean, that's crazy. Now, how does anybody, whether I'm Mako, Fix, or CarStar, how do I agree to that? How do I turn around and look at State Farm and go, okay, well, we won't charge for it anymore, it's fine. So if you're going to have estimators who have every other thing on their plate, they're taking pictures, they're calling customers, they're dealing with insurance companies, they're doing all these. If they have all of these things, Now you want them to be responsible for seatbelt inspections. And for a lot of insurers, a lot of OEs, the seatbelt inspections are different. I mean, so if we think of Ford Motor Company, like the last time I read Ford, it's like get the vehicle up to 13, occupy every seatbelt, get the vehicle up to 13 and a half miles per hour and apply the brakes. Okay, so you want the estimator to go in the shop, gather up 4 other coworkers, put them in the car and try to drive it around? Like, how the hell does that get done? So this clearly wasn't well thought out by State Farm. State Farm, I'm extremely disappointed in you. You're supposed to know better, and you should want to do better for your policyholders. I think every day, thank God Ed Rust is not there anymore, because this would have pissed him off probably more than me. Larry Wallner, God love that man. That would have pissed Larry Wallner off more than anything. If we want to think about somebody running through our office, flipping tables and making sure crap's done properly. Some of y'all need to go back to your roots, and you need to say you're sorry about some of this. So as for funsies, because that's what I do, I pulled up a list of the different, the 3 different providers, so Mako, Fix Auto, and CarStar, at different places around the country, and I cold called shops, right? So I asked for estimators. I had questions about my car getting repaired, and that State Farm had told me that the estimator was going to do all my safety inspections, and not a single person out of any of my cold calls to any of these 3 franchises knew anything about seatbelt inspections, how to do them, or how to find them. And so that's sort of a scary thing for you to say that State Farm does not pay for it. And so, hey, we're not going to charge for it, put it on your estimate this way, or just put it into a line item here, which that anytime you ask an estimator to do something that they're not going to get paid for, it's not going to get done. So it's just going to be left off the estimate. It's not going to get explained to the customer. None of that stuff is going to happen. And it's going to be a huge safety issue. Now, because you've put it in writing, you're going to have to testify to it when one car gets in an accident and a seatbelt doesn't tension up, an airbag deploys, the consumer hits the airbag too fast, too slow, whatever the reason is, and you're going to have to give a testimony on supplement restraint inspections as required post collision. We're going to get to seatbelts, and this email is going to come popping up somewhere. And now whoever that shop is going to have to testify, and I guarantee you your estimator can't answer this one. So if you are a franchise or you are a DRP and you are on State Farm's DRP, even if you're an independent and you have agreed to not charge for seatbelt inspections, I would highly recommend that you come up with some formalized training plan to train all of your estimators on the seatbelt inspections for every OE that you're going to potentially have to have in the shop, or you're going to have to come up with some other SOP and how you're going to do this for free. Because this is the one that's going to wind you up in court, like more than anything, right? Like if you want to blend for free, who cares? If you want to buff for free, who cares? But this is one that's actually probably going to wind you in court. I am blown away that it got put in writing, right? I would love to know if State Farm had originally sent an email to Keith saying this. I would love to depose whoever sent that email from State Farm. And Keith's going to have a lot of stuff to answer if there's ever actually a problem, right? And most of the lawsuits right now, like the ones that settled in Florida, the one that settled in Georgia, start with some sort of ADAS issue that led to an accident that caused an injury or whatever. And so as we start going down the rabbit hole and trying to figure out where the fault is going to lie, it's just a huge problem, right? And to put it in writing and send it out to everyone, every franchise owner that's associated with Driven Brands, bold. Now, the other half of this email, which is interesting, is that, also steering angle sensors are included and we're not paying for that either anymore. So that's one more thing that if you are on the State Farm DRP that I guess you're going to eat and not be compensated for as we move forward. Everybody within the next 4 to 6 months is going to have to start making some very hard decisions about what you continue to do and what you stop doing. I've never watched a shop close, and I'm sure it happens, but I've never watched a shop close that had no work. Most of the shops that I go back and visit that are announcing they're closing had work in the shop. They had work scheduled for the next week. It's just they couldn't continue to pay. Cash flow got them, staffing issues, whatever. But I've never watched a shop go broke because they had no work to work on. I've watched shops go broke while they worked themselves broke because they were just doing the jobs too cheaply. And then cost of labor. So having employees, whether that's their salary, whether that's their benefits, whatever that is, was eating up all of the profit. And at the end of the day, there was nothing there to continue to buy paint, materials, pay the rent, pay the gas bill, the light bill, all of those things. So very interesting. A little disappointed. I'm disappointed in State Farm for this one, but I'm very, very disappointed that if you know better, you should just say no. Now, I do want to say positively down here that Keith's basically saying he's going to keep working State Farm to get the right answer. He knows what the right way to do it is. He knows the right thing is. I would love for this industry to stop doing wrong things for money and start doing the right thing even when it costs you money. If that means we all get off the State Farm program, then so be it. When State Farm has no more DRPs, and no more shops to do whatever they tell them to do, they'll change the rules. But as long as shops keep saying yes, they're going to keep taking from you, not giving from you. All righty. This one came out today. So I woke up late, overslept a little bit. And then I muddled through my coffee and some breakfast and some other things. And so I'm up here late, right? But this one popped up and I thought, oh my God, I make no secret. I think OE certification programs are just dumb. I was looking through some things on what it costs to apply to the Toyota program and the recertification or whatever. And the consumer doesn't give a crap. I mean, in study after study, they don't care. When you read some of the studies that people tell you, oh, well, the consumer says they would much rather prefer a certified shop. It's because the question was presented to them in the manner of, when it comes to collision repair, would you prefer a certified shop or a non-certified shop? That's a leading question. Of course, you're going to have a consumer go, I'd like a certified shop. We did the same survey where we asked people, do you read a newspaper? And everybody went, oh yeah, I read a newspaper. And only about 10% of people still actually read a newspaper. But everybody wants to be, I stay informed of current events. Of course, I don't get my news and information from Facebook. The human experience is so easily manipulated, and I can make a survey say anything I want to make it say. But when we work with consumers in non-biased surveys and information, they don't care. There are some brands that are a little bit more tuned. So Subaru owners, for some reason, are very in tune to safety. They're a little bit more inclined to choose certified, even when not prompted or led to it or whatever. But for the most part, consumers are just waiting on the insurance. So 60-something% of claims are going through the DRP. They're waiting for an insurance company to tell them where to go. So you're spending all this money and it increases your exposure to liability. So we had a case come out of Ohio where the jury said they were ICAR certified. We'll use certified in quotes, ICAR trained. They were gold class and they were OE certified. They should have known better. They had no excuse to do what they did. And so the judgment was a little bit bigger against that shop. And you can't blame them, right? That's kind of like Maya Angelou, when you know better, do better kind of thing. So Toyota puts this thing out with this advertising campaign about how you should choose Toyota shops. This ad campaign focused on quality repairs done properly according to OEM procedures and using OEM parts. All right, I've reinspected a lot of the Toyota and none of that's happening. A lot of those shops are DRPs as well. They are seeking to make the insurer happy. There are clauses that allow them to use alternative and aftermarket parts, so to speak. So being on the DRP means you can't repair it, right? Let's go back to State Farm saying we're not going to pay for this and we're not going to pay for that and we're not going to do whatever. Shops aren't doing thousands of dollars worth of work for free. They're not talking their technicians into doing it all and not being paid for it. They're just not doing it. The estimates reflect it. When we look at the estimates, none of those required procedures are estimated, and the parts usage is not OE parts. You're requiring shops on the program to upload their estimates as part of a data share situation. So you're getting the estimates, and as Toyota, I know if I'm having the estimates sent to me, I know these shops are not following procedures, but I'm not doing anything about it. Now, to just have a blank, have a website, which if you look at their website, it's like photo hold, placeholder. It's what the hell's going on with Toyota lately? But apparently this agency that they're paying is clearly not doing anything but making these videos. There are all these holes, right? It's one thing to have those things sort of naturally and to ask like somebody like me. So let's say we have a Toyota shop that repairs a car improperly, repairs it per DRP requirements. It's a crap show. Somebody gets hurt and we're going to court. Yes, I'm very excited. That's where I make my money, right? So now I'm going through it. I want the OE. That's where the bigger money is, right? That's the whole plan. I don't want Bob's Body Shop. Bob's probably doesn't have enough money for me. So I'm going to go after the OE. Now I need to attach the OE to it some way. Sometimes that's difficult to do. I can take what the OE has produced. I can take how long that shop's been on the program. I can look at their estimates. I can say you should have known better or whatever. But when you make a video for me telling customers that they can trust because they're going to get proper repairs and it's going to follow OEM procedures and it's going to do all these things, that becomes a sort of false advertising. Like you stepped in it. It's not just like you opened a program and said, here we go. You're now glorifying this program and you're trying to use it and you're providing these videos to shops. You're telling these shops to use them, to post them on their social media, to do things with. It's just it's a legal nightmare soup. Like just, waiting for, and I've talked to a lot of attorneys that are at these large national class action law firms and whatever. And they're just very aware of all this and just, we're obviously you wait for the perfect one. A lot of times when we deal with these with shops, the shop will buy the car back. So you call the customer, you call them and you go, screwed up. They buy the car back really fast. There's non-disclosure settlements. There's all these things. We're going to get one. I had one recently with a large MSO out of Chicago, and the regional director wrote the customer back and went, I'm not paying you a damn dime, sue me. And I'm like, okay, right? Like you look at the shop and the customer and you go, you ready to go? Because this one's going to be really easy if you're ready to go. And I thought, that was a really dumb ledge to walk out on it. And it wasn't like it was the regional too. They had in-house counsel write it back. And I'm thinking, wow, that's stepping in it, right? Like, yeah, interesting. I know you're feeling very bravadoed, but yeah, that's not good. If you were still at an insurer, there's some things you can say because you have tons of email or I have tons of revenues for legal defenses or whatever. But when you're at a shop group, you don't have the same abilities. Might want to ratchet that down a little bit. So, but it's just going to be one claim and eventually it's going to blow stuff up. So for shops, this is what kills us is the OEs do these things. And then in the background, they have, a shop can use aftermarket parts as long as it doesn't exceed 20%, or they can do this, or they can be on a DRP, or they're looking for parts and not looking for correct estimating, but they entered a data share program where the shop's supposed to send their estimates up. If you go as bad as Tesla right now, where they're actually reviewing estimates and calling shops and telling them what they can't charge for, but they're missing all of the stuff that they should have said, oh God, we have a problem. Tesla's going to be in a huge butt sling pretty soon over the way they're doing it. I think you're probably going to see some independent Tesla certified shops file lawsuits here in the next month or two over what Tesla's doing. But OEs continue to sort of push the boundaries. And a lot of it is that they're trying to come up with ways. Most of you that have been on OE certified programs, you've seen nothing in return. You've shelled out money for 10, 12 years. You're not getting FNLL. You're not getting cars directly sent to you. It's not, generating lots of work. They keep telling you to buy something else. Oh, well, buy this body shop booster bullshit over here and you'll get more work or whatever, instead of going, but I'm paying you thousands of dollars a year. You should be sending me the information, or the work, not asking me to spend more money to get less work. But you have always sort of scrambling to try to find value, so shops will continue to stay certified. And in the process of doing that, they're just opening themselves up to more exposure. And it'll be interesting. Like I really kind of want one to happen soon. All right, auto owners insurance. So I talk a lot about what an insurance company does stupid shit. This one's not too bad. So auto owners sent this out on July 3rd and basically says valued partners. Yeah, we ain't partners unless you're paying my bills. But if you're on their DRP program, they are going to allow you to have some profit from total losses. So storage fees will be charged at a reasonable market rate for the area. And storage time begins the day the estimate is locked and continues through the day it's picked up. So that one's great. So you've locked the estimate. It's not an insurer coming back and telling you that. Oh, you only start counting storage from the day we tell you it's a total loss. So you uploaded the estimate. It took them a week and a half to respond, and then finally they go, oh, it's total loss. So that one was really good. Reasonable market rate. Where does that come from? There's a couple of ways, but bottom line, it's from shops putting total loss charges into the estimating system. So the estimating system is for estimates. Your total loss fees should just be on an invoice. You should not be putting those in on the estimate because you're allowing insurance companies to do research. So CCC gathers all of that, sends it in, and they look at it and go, oh. So teardown, pre-authorization is required. And this is the one I want everybody to pay attention to because more and more legal cases are coming up on total loss fees. And then they're going to court. And the shop is getting most everything a jury is agreeing with except for teardown labor. And so I want to talk a little bit more specifically about it. But they say pre-authorization is required and refer to your regional representative for that. They're going to pay for 1 hour of body rate to write an estimate, 1 hour of body rate to take photos, and then they're going to allow for some pre-scan charges and some other things. So overall, pretty decent. As total losses percentages continue to jump up, you may see insurers go back. At one point, I think State Farm was paying $125 to the shop for a total loss, and then took all that away. I think you'll see some fees come back, but kudos to auto owners here for doing that. We'd like more, but I think all of us would like more, but it's better than nothing for those DRP shops, so that's good. All right. Let's talk about that teardown fee and what we're experiencing in court. So what we're getting back, some of these are just judges, so they're like bench trials. Some of them are juries and hearing back. Is blueprinting over? You've heard me for about a year say, I don't tell shops to blueprint anymore. And so I just teardown and blueprinting, I think that benefit or usefulness of that for body shops is pretty much over. Like it's ran its course, right? There was a time we wanted you to do it in the insurance industry. Y'all never wanted to do it. We wanted you to do it because we wanted to get the repairs out faster. In our surveys, we had found that the less number of supplements, the higher the customer satisfaction. Even though shops were paying for the CSI scores, we knew through our own research that the CSI score that was attached to the repair, the insurer or the customer saw that as a reflection of the insurance company, not as the body shop. So that was why we want you to be a 10 or we wanted 9s or whatever we wanted, was because when we talked to customers, in their mind, you were our tool. So body shop, you were the tool of the insurance company. And so everything around you, how the customer feels about interacting with you, how they feel about your facility, how they feel about the service, the quality of the repair, was a direct reflection on how they felt about the insurance company. So our ability to retain that policyholder or maybe even capture a new policyholder on a third-party claim. So we wanted it to go faster, and we got with paint companies and we told them to do it, call it green belt, Kaizen, whatever the hell names that went through it. And we were like, teach shops to do this complete and total teardown, get one estimate, one parts order, and get it going. And that worked really well for several years when we had that DRP relationship where shops weren't continually and constantly questioned. Basically, the benefit of being on a DRP was you were supposed to write the estimate and get paid to fix the car with little to no influence in how that worked. That, like, why would I agree to work for less money, less non-includeds, all of these things, when the incentive for that should be that I get to repair cars faster and I get to get paid faster and I don't have to worry about all the back and forth. Those days are gone. I mean, even if you're a quality, those words are not going to come out of my mouth, but if you're a DRP that is very insurer friendly, or like these MSOs or franchises or whatever, you're constantly getting reviewed. You're constantly getting change requests. Like nobody, no matter what you do and send up, you're constantly getting stuff back. We have several shops people are amazed, within the Collision Hub program. So our VIPs that we consult and work with on a monthly basis that are on DRPs. And I get questions all the time. Kristen, Farmers wrote me back and wants me to change all of this stuff. What do I do? How do I respond? Well, because you can't say yes. If you say yes, you're basically fixing the car for free and there's no profit on there. So why go through all that teardown? You bring the car in, you do a complete disassembly. You've got 4 parts carts that are full of the parts that you took off because you got to hang on to them to prove. And then you got 4 more parts carts that are full of parts that you ordered because you wanted to do this one complete parts order. Now I talk to shops and they're like, well, we do the teardown, but we don't do the parts order because it may be 2 or 3 weeks before we actually get approval or authorization on the estimate. So I got this car in this disassembled state that I push it back outside. I've got all of this stuff hanging onto parts carts. I've got shops that are renting storage containers just to hold parts carts because they're doing a blueprinting method. It's like, yeah, save the storage and save your lot space because if the more lot space, the more total losses I can park on it, the more money I can make, and just stop doing the teardown. We know you can write an estimate 80% accurate without doing teardown. Sure, you probably need to get on a lift, look under it a little bit, but without like doing a ton of teardown, maybe take a bumper off one part, but you can write a good estimate without doing a complete and total disassembly. Once you know you're going to go through multiple stages with the insurer, there's going to be multiple estimates and supplements. Even if you are a DRP, you're still going through these phases now. I mean, I don't know what the benefit of being a DRP is anymore, other than the people that say, well, Kristen, if I'm not on the DRP, I'm not going to get any work. Okay, I mean, I guess maybe that's your reason, but I don't understand it. The benefits that were originally pitched for DRPs are all gone, so I don't understand why people want to be on them anymore. Now, what is reasonable teardown? I used to do this a lot in cases when it was my job to go against the body shop. The body shop would put 8, 9, 10, 12 hours of teardown on an estimate, and I would put them in a deposition or on a stand, and I'd be like, what did your technician do for 2 days? And they're like, what? 2 days. I mean, you got 8 hours, you got 12 hours or whatever. If we factor in a lunch break, it would have been 2 days to get that much wrench time on this car. Well, that's not how it works. It says this and whatever. Book time and actual time are two different things. And when it comes to teardown, the juries don't believe you should be paid book time. They believe that that's price gouging, it's hostaging, it's running up a bill, and they are repeatedly coming back with that. So they're basically saying reasonable teardown is an hour or two. Like you just needed to take a bumper off and you needed to look at some things. You didn't need to have all of this stuff done. You didn't need to shrink wrap all these parts and do all these things. So those charges on these total loss cases are getting lots of scrutiny and a lot of times kicked out. From a jury's perspective, it feels like, I always tell shops, if it feels icky, don't do it, even if it's legal. So there's moral and ethical, right? And legal. Those are like three different categories. If it feels icky, it's probably gonna feel icky to a jury too, and we don't want to do that. If you do charge teardown, again, it's always better to make things a dollar rate than an hour rate. So you're gonna be on the stand trying to explain 8 hours. And what did your technician do for a full day of work? Like from 9 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon, they did nothing but touch this car, right? When you could just say, what's your teardown fee? It's $500. What does that include? Tearing the car down. What do you do for $500? We tear the car down. Like it's a simpler form of questioning. The next thing is, what exactly do your forms say the customer agreed to? Now, a lot of shops believe that when a customer comes in and signs your authorization to repair, your direction to pay, even if you have like an even better contract, that means the customer agreed to incur all of these costs up front. That's not playing well either in court. So you got to have a really specifics. Erica's done a good job on her contract of basically explaining, we're going to tear down, we're going to incur these fees, it's going to be this, it will be book time, not actual time. Like she spelled all of that out in the contract. So what exactly do your forms say that the customer is agreeing to? So what is an intuitive leap that you're making? So we call those intuitive leaps. You're going, well, they signed the forms and gave me authorization to write an estimate and tear it down. So that means they authorized me to incur. Not really. If you're making an intuitive leap, don't expect that a jury's going to make that intuitive leap with you. So what do your forms say that the customer has agreed to do? And if your forms aren't very specific, just improve them, right? Get them a little bit better. Like I said, Erica's done a wonderful job with her forms. She even has that clause in there, expectancy of damages. So basically, hey, you're in line and you're taking up a spot. I'm a repair shop, not a total loss shop. I expected to be able to repair this car and make a profit off of it. And if I can't, I am entitled to the expectancy of what I was going to make. I always call it, that's my get out of jail free card. So if I have somebody that goes, well, your paragraph 6 didn't give you the right to do this, I go, great, paragraph 9 did in a lot of ways. And then what are your state laws? So this one's biting people in the butt a lot lately. Like there's some states that say you must have authorization from the customer every time an additional like $100 is incurred. Now, these laws went on the books, probably 60s, 70s, or whatever. And back then, $100 jump in labor or whatever meant probably putting an engine in or whatever. Now, I mean, I can blink and I can increase the bill by $100. But you need to know what those state laws are, because even if they're not reasonable, we'll say reasonable for now, we're still stuck to them. So if you brought the car in and then you didn't tell the customer it was going to cost $2,300 to tear it down and write an estimate, and then you want to charge them that, you may get hit with a state statute that says that you were supposed to have gotten permission for that. Now, for years and years and years, I always tell shops, there's a lot that happened that wasn't legal, but insurers allowed it to happen because it was to our benefit. It made our life easier. So we didn't call the shops back and go, not paying for this, not paying for that, or whatever. Total losses were a small percentage of reported claims. And at the time, I think it was 2023 or 22, the average total loss bill was $700. So it was one of those things where it's like, it's not worth it, just move on. And a lot of shops took that apathy to mean that they were correct in what they were doing. And then now that they're getting told no, they're like, I can't believe it. You can't do this. It's against the law. And it's really not. A lot of what we were doing as shops, or what we were doing as insurers, was technically what was against the law. We just sort of had this wink, wink, nudge, nudge that we're going to let this stuff happen because it's faster, lets the claim process, it's better for the consumer or whatever. But when it comes time to go to court, an insurer will look for everything that they can, including state statutes or whatever that says you're to blame. We have a big issue in Tennessee right now. There is a law on the books that the insurers are, in my opinion, interpreting incorrectly. So they're making an intuitive leap to their benefit, and I don't believe the statute even remotely says that they are allowed to do that. It's going to be up to a consumer or a shop to really hold their feet to the fire. Technically, when you push them a little bit, they'll back off. I don't think they want a ruling on that either, because there's a lot of shops that are bullying with it. But there's a lot going on around total losses and storage and fees and all of these things. So blueprinting may be done. We just have to ask ourselves, is this adding value to the shop right now? So just because somebody taught you to do this 5 years ago, whatever, 10 years ago, if it's not adding value right now, if it's causing lots of cars to be in, under bailment law, you're responsible for those vehicles. If you're disassembling them and wrapping them in plastic and you park them out behind the shop and a hailstorm comes through and there's a bunch of holes that gets poked in that plastic, you're liable for that car. I've walked into shops where they're pulling glass, they're pulling door handles, they're pulling doors, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And they're like, oh, it's part of our complete and total teardown process for blueprinting. Why the hell are you doing it? You don't even know if the cars are going to be repairable. You don't know if it's going to stay here. You don't know if how long it's going to take you to go back and forth with the insurance company to get an approval on this estimate. And you're putting this car in this heightened exposure and then pushing that damn thing outside. So you just got to ask yourself, if it still works for your business, if you meet with your shop and your shop foreman and your estimators and whatever, and you guys still go, yeah, we think this adds value, then continue to do it. If it's like, no, we're doing all this teardown and we're still waiting weeks, then stop doing the teardown. Write estimates as they set, send them in. We call it segmented supplementation. In other words, you're just going to take the vehicle in different categories. I also like it because once you do that, it's harder for the customer to remove the car. So it makes it a little bit easier for you to maintain the car. Like I always say, it's pulling people down the rabbit hole. If I pull them in that direction, it's harder for them to eject and get out of that rabbit hole. If I hit them up front with a big brick or a baseball bat to the nose or whatever, then it's real easy for them to run away, move the car, do a lot of different things. So you just got to think about, from a strategic standpoint, what's better for your business and for your cash flow and for your exposure levels and all those things. All right, so let's talk about something that's really annoying me lately. Look, I get it. It's rough. I told you this. Like for years, I've been telling you it's going to get really, really bad. If you think it's bad now, just wait. Like it's going to get terrible. And I have more and more shops stop me now and go, hey, remember when you said it was going to get bad? Yeah, I thought you were lying. Like I didn't think it could get this bad. We still have a long way to go. It's going to continue to get worse. And so I get the blame, right? You want to blame somebody for what's going on. And for shops, we want to blame the insurers. Honestly, none of this is their fault. All of it is body shop's fault. I hate to say it, right? But shops, you did this to yourself. You DRPs are mostly to blame for where we're at right now. But we did this. What I can't stand is that there are a lot of people now feeling a little irrelevant, like consultants, people that want to be thought leaders or whatever, that were on this body shop side of the fence. They were either estimators in a body shop, they owned a body shop, whatever it was. And their relevancy now is to give little speeches and presentations or make posts about everything they think an insurance company is doing wrong in claims. Insurance companies need to go back to face-to-face inspections. Insurance companies need to be better at talking on the phone to customers and not having artificial intelligence. Insurance companies need to do whatever. Okay, that sounds about as dumb as when an insurance company tells you how to run your body shop. If you've never worked claims, they got their own issues, right? I was my new saying, so I'm not going to say not my circus, not my monkey anymore. I'm going to say not my trash, not my dumpster. They got their own problems. Like they're struggling all on their own. They don't need your help. Staffing, finding competent people, turnover, like it's just a new world. Birth rate's lower. We can't hire. If I had to hire, I don't think I physically could hire enough people to staff claims the way some of these consultants are saying that they think insurance companies should be working claims right now. You don't need to worry about their side of the fence and how they run their business. You need to worry about yours. That may mean that you have to adapt in certain ways to changes over there. Should you learn about claims? Yep, you should learn about claims and processing and claims law and all those things so that allows you to make a better critical thinking. So we go back to artificial intelligence. So you're a better critical thinker of how to solve the problems within your shop or what to say or what to do. If you don't know what's going on that side of the fence, you can't really make a good decision. You can't think through your problem right now. And that's when we have people go online and go, tell me what to do. And the people that are telling you what to do, they don't know what the hell they're talking about either. Like they're like, I did this one time. Just because I did something once and I got some success out of it doesn't mean that that's the way to handle it, right? And you may do that and then find out that you actually made it worse. Like it's like pouring, water on a grease fire, so to speak, right? Like, whoop, shit, not doing that again. But being able to think through that. And so I get it. There's a lot of people that their whole livelihood or their whole relevance to the industry or what made them special or whatever was because they were good at this. And then now that it's changed and insurance companies are more adversarial than they've ever been, people are getting told no to more things than they've ever been told no before to, that there's this just desire to want to have something to say. Like I want to be relevant. And so I think that I should talk about how insurance companies aren't doing their job. And if they would just do this, it would be better. And they're causing their own cycle time issues and repair delays and whatever. They get it. They're totally aware of what's going on. They just have a certain framework that they have to work under with not just profitability in mind. So there's a budget there that has to be considered. So not just that, but they also have to think about the capabilities of the humans that are applying for jobs. I talked about this. I have a class that you can buy. It says, so you got a State Farm problem. And I go through my hiring process took months. There were background checks. They had the FBI do background checks on me. You had to have a clean driving record. You had to be they basically, it's almost like getting a job with the FBI as an agent, right? They interview like kindergarten teachers or whatever. It was rough. You couldn't have anything. Now I have people with shoplifting and DUIs and all these things that are being hired as adjusters just because when the pool thins, you have to keep lowering the standard as the water lowers, so to speak. So it's difficult. And then retention, turnover rates are in the 80 percentile in claims right now. Nobody wants to be a claims adjuster. Think about it. It's a terrible job. I hated it. It sort of so I have that. There's a sign. I need to get it. Now we moved out of the office. I'll find it and get it for you guys. Arguing with an adjuster is like wrestling with a pig in the mud. Eventually you realize the pig likes it. I enjoyed it. The more we argued and the more I fought with somebody, the happier I got in claims. So that was a rarity for me, but just stop talking about what you think an insurance company should or shouldn't do because they don't care what you think. They're not going to do any of that stuff. None of it's going to make a difference. You're going to have to figure out how to deal with where we are right now. And then it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. There will be more artificial intelligence in the claims realm. You're going to have more people calling you and going, the computer system told me to tell you no. Your ability to negotiate with a human and manipulate human emotions is going to be what makes you successful. So you can cry and whine all you want. I did it in claims. Like, I go back in that State Farm class, I share with you a brochure that was Claims Initiative 2000, like how we were going to change claims to get ready for the future. And I hated every one of the things in it. And all of us internally bitched and moaned and said this was terrible and you're going to ruin claims, you're going to ruin this and whatever. We didn't want what you're seeing right now, but it happened anyway. So the best thing you can do is figure out how to exist in the current situation and what you need to do to be more successful with the environment you're in, because you're not going to be able to change that environment. You can tell customers, hey, I'm not working with you or your insurance company. You're going to pay my bill, and that's great. But most of you, at the end of the day, you really want to check in the upper left-hand corner with the name of an insurance company on it, made payable to you. And so you're going to have to figure out how to work with that. If you don't know claims, if you don't understand how claims processes work, what adjusters can and can't do, what policies do. If you don't know anything about insurance claims, claim handling, get to studying. Like, I'll sell you a class, right? I got some classes online you can take from me. There's probably a lot of stuff available online you could do for free. But the more you know about that process, the easier it'll be for you to talk to those people when you do actually get them on the phone, and not yell at them, because you yelling at them means nothing to them at all. Their paycheck's going to be the same at the end of the day. Yours will not. So if you don't get paid what you want, your shop makes less. They're going to go home with the same paycheck at the end of the day. So what's on the shelf? I think I did this one once before, but I didn't I didn't take the share button off, and so everybody didn't get to see it. I was looking at this the other day because it kind of entertained me greatly. But I was in an argument online, and I get into them a lot. What I find interesting is that any dude, so if your name's Brian or Bob or whatever, any dude online can make any statement they want to make, and no one challenges whether they've done the work or not. Any woman in any of these forums that immediately makes a response or says something, you'll have 3 or 4 people going, oh, here it comes. Somebody that doesn't know how to do my job is going to tell me how to do my job, or can't do it, or has never fixed a car, or wait, you're going to tell me you're one of those people that just grew up in a body shop or whatever. And I'm thinking, damn, like if sexism is still alive and well in our industry. But anyway, I was going through that debate because I had a guy make a really stupid comment, and I barked back, and then suddenly it was, you're not professional. And I thought, wait, you make that comment and then you get your feelers hurt when somebody barks back at you, and you want to go, I'm not trying to be professional, I'm trying to whip your butt because you made a very bad comment, right? So it goes back to the weaknesses that I feel we have. But anyway, how long have I been doing this? This was my last estimating pad. I didn't get computerized estimating until I went to work for an insurance company. I hand wrote everything my entire life. So did my dad. All of my dad, my brother, me, we wrote our estimates handwritten. This is our last estimating pad, so Ted's Body Service in Jacksonville, Arkansas. And I've kept it, and it stays on the clipboard that's behind me, and you can still see this is the dealership. So this was the Chevy Buick dealership where we were ordering parts, and so there was the phone number and everything because I just put it on there. It made it easier for that. But everything was a carbon copy. So you wrote one, and then it transferred over because you had to keep one for your records, and you had to give the customer one to walk away from. And what I loved about carbon copy is that, you can hold it up to the light and you can see, in this respect, that's my dad's handwriting, not mine. And I can see the last estimate. I guess the last estimate lines he wrote on this, which is very entertaining to me. So it was a 1993 GMC 1500 pickup truck. For the hood, we had $30. To refinish that hood was $75. It looks like it was a small repair. Total estimate at the bottom was $175.72. And so I think that's just so interesting to be able to turn around and there it is. The history, the multi-generations of people that are in this industry are really cool, but I still have the last estimating pad to come out of the shop before we closed it. Sold it, and my brother and I teetered off into the insurance world. And yeah, we had revenue for 20 years out of that for rent. So that was how my parents paid their bills for 20 years, was the rent on the building. It was a rent to own kind of thing. So that's my what's on the shelf. It stays back there. There's a lot of things back there that are from 80s, 90s, just things that I've kept with me over. I still have my primer gun. So an old DeVelbus siphon gun, just covered in primer. So my primer gun is around here somewhere. So I'm starting to pull things in and take them from the old shop and then put them on the shelves around here. And so we'll see what else we can find. Okay, that's it. I know it's late. It took me a while to get up and get motivated this morning. But if you've got questions, let us know. We have a class coming up for right to appraisal. So Mark Olson and I are going to break down what a right to appraisal is and isn't, what happens when you go to umpire, what you have to do to prepare a file, what the legalities are around it, what the four corners of a policy means when you do RTA, and how there's just some things you're not ever going to get in an RTA, and what happens when it all goes wrong. So when there's a negative, how do you handle those? I got a lot of shops right now hiring a lot of people that were former estimator or this or that, or I have a guy out of Texas that says he was an insurance adjuster. I was like, you were a field adjuster for 5 years. Like, we didn't tell field adjusters shit. Like, you don't know anything. Like, you don't know claims. You don't know anything, right? But now that for the first like months or so, it was easy money, and you're doing these RTAs and you're getting settlements, and you're thinking, I am awesome. And then suddenly the insurer pulls a ripcord. And now you're getting told no on everything. And then you want to call somebody and you think we're going to tell you what to do. You got paid to do this. You should figure it out. There was a fight, I love them, on Facebook the other day between an independent consulting thing and Larry. And Larry was right. You're a consulting firm. You tell shops to pay you, which means you should know what you're doing, but you're coming on Facebook and asking a bunch of strangers a claims question. If you don't know it, because it's basic, if you don't know it, you probably shouldn't be taking people's money. You should not be an independent adjuster. This is not something you learn as you go. Like, that's why we have E&O insurance, and it gets expensive when you do the wrong thing. So it's not something you just wake up one day and decide you want to do and you start taking people's money for. And then expect other people to tell you how to do the job that you charged somebody for, which is really interesting to me. So, all right, I will see you guys next week. I'll be in Texas. So I may be recording that show from the hotel room in Texas. But I will be down in Texas for a couple of days next week, and then I'm out to the Carolinas for a couple of days. So I'm on the road a lot. If you need me, well, you can always get in touch with me through Melanie. So just Melanie at collisionhub.com, and I'll see you next Monday on Coffee Talk. Thanks, everybody.